like to begin by thanking our sponsors and advertisers for the wonderful support that they've given us tonight. Thank you to our major event supporter, the Institution for Savings. Our appetizer sponsor is Mavroides Liquor. All of our program sponsors you will see listed in our program. They are as follows: Brookline Bank, the Burke family, Bridge Pub, Choice Graphics, Crown Trophy, Dan Clasby and Company, Daly Insurance, 1640 Hard House, Ipswich Boys Basketball, John's Auto, Marini Farms, Pomodori, Riverview Pizza, Sullivan Insurance, Village Pancake House, Vinwood Caterers, and the Woodworth family. All right, I'd like to open with just a few words here of introduction. Okay, we're all here to celebrate both individual and team high-level achievement in the field of athletics at Ipswich High School. Schools have sponsored historically athletics over the years around the interests of their student bodies, which are generally schools themselves are interested in sponsoring athletic programs for the following outcomes. First, the student safety. Second, in order to develop school pride. Third, providing helps to provide student motivation to remain eligible. As a coach and a current coach, that works. It also deals with what we refer to as some essential life skills. These are just a few of them that I could find. One is the application of effort in all endeavors, the determination to see things through, the self-discipline imposed by the programs in order to learn the skills and to remain drug-free, for example, what it is to be committed to something and staying
Speak from the heart.
Pardon me? Okay. To work within a team, it's called teamwork. Learn something about time management. You got to get your homework done, and the responsibility of being a team member as well. There are others, but I think those are some big key ones. This little town of Ipswich, when I was growing up, Wallace too, okay, it was small in nature, but it has a very long history of athletic success in numerous different sports. Okay. To attain a nomination, though, for this Hall of Fame, and this distinction as an individual, one must be nominated on a nomination form with some evidence of the success included as well. Some lines for that there. There is a nomination form on the back of our program and also online at the Ipswich Hall of Fame website. If you can think of someone who would be deserving, please fill it out and put it in the mail, okay, at the address on the website. This is how it works, okay, as far as being nominated. Off of that form, okay, we then, as a committee, we vet the information, okay. Each member then selects a candidate that they deem deserving and presents it to the committee with their findings due to some more deeper research before the committee votes. Now, when the committee votes, a consensus of 75% of the committee needs to vote in favor of any particular candidate. And once they reach that threshold, they are elected, and begin the fun of informing people. We have five classes through which we consider our candidates. The first two have to do with athletes, okay? And we need to find information about that when we do our research. So the first category we call athlete, which is generally people who played from the 1960s to the present. There's usually informational trails that we can find in newspapers, yearbooks, other kinds of information as well. Then there's the second category is legends, which is generally athletes from before the 1960s as well, which is it's a little bit much shorter. It's a lot more difficult to find that information. But we do. We dig hard and we find what they were great at. The third category is coaches. There's usually a lot of information about that. The fourth category is teams, okay? And the fifth category is meritorious. Those are people who are generally participated in, as a fan or as a contributor in other ways to our sports programs. This is our 11th induction ceremony. We've been away for 3 years, and now we're back with a home run, I think, tonight. We had a 3-year hiatus due to COVID-19. The last induction was in 2019. So let me introduce you to just a few of our inductees in categories. To date, this year, we have inducted a total of 118 inductees. 35 female inductees and 83 male inductees. Inductees are from the class of 1933 at the oldest to the class of 2011 at the youngest. 19 different sports have inductees already. 14 different coaches, 1 athletic director, 1 principal, and 5 meritorious. For women inductees, there were 10 women before Title IX in 1972, and 24 women after Title IX, and 1 news reporter. There have been 6 teams total inducted, 3 girls and 3 boys teams. All the girls teams are post Title IX. We're going to begin our inductions now. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Jan Eldridge was our secretary for, I believe, the first 10 years of our existence. And she unfortunately passed away suddenly this spring. And what I'd like to do now is introduce Kiki Papagiotis to come up and give you a few words so that you'll know something about Jan Eldridge. She was very, very important. She did so much work for this undertaking and made a success in previous years. So, Kiki.
Thanks, Rolly. Good evening, everyone. Jan left us, as Rolly said, unexpectedly this past summer. And she was our clerk. She didn't want to be called secretary. She wanted to be called clerk. And she was the rock of our Hall of Fame committee. If there was a problem that needed to be fixed, Jan would say, "I'll fix it." We never asked her how she did it. She always did it. And we always went to her. She was a mother, grandmother, spouse, classmate, teammate, right, Sandy? And friend. She was an outstanding 3-sport athlete at Ipswich High School, graduating in 1964, pre-Title IX, obviously. Jan, or Jakey, as we all called her, was a feisty point guard, a take-charge catcher, and an aggressive forward in field hockey. Jan was a true tiger. She was always on the sidelines, rooting for Tracy. She was always supporting Katie. She was always supporting athletics. She was also an athletic booster. But that wasn't enough for Jan. She decided that she wanted to join the Athletic Hall of Fame to help us honor former IHS athletes. You always knew where Jake stood. It was for that, it was that take charge, point guard, and catcher mentality. We paid tribute to Jake this evening, and we honor her service to Ipswich athletes and Ipswich athletics. Jan was a true Tiger. Rollies in the back, so I guess we'll kick it off this evening. Our first inductee is Theodora, Teddy, as her classmates called her, Dora, as we all know her by, Geanakos Mavroides. That's that. Dora graduated in 1950. She was a class athlete. She played 3 sports: archery, basketball, where she was captain in her senior year. She was a leading scorer, and she played softball for 4 years. Now, I have to remind everybody here that the only true interscholastic sport when Dora was playing was basketball. Back in the days, even before mid-60s or early 60s, Ipswich only had basketball as an interscholastic sport. The girls played exhibitions. So they had this, what we would call intramural program, and they would compete in archery and softball and track and everything else. But it was always self-contained, not interscholastic. And believe it or not, folks, it wasn't until the mid-50s to late 50s that they added softball to this. So we've come a long way, baby, even before Title IX in Ipswich, but Dora was one of the leading women that made the charge. And later you'll hear Rosie speak, and she says it so well. But Dora also was an honor award student. She was also, after her high school career, she was an IHS booster. In fact, one of the founders. She was a supporter, along with her husband, of Ipswich youth. So this evening, her grandson, Bill, and her son, John Mavroides, will come and talk to you about Dora.
Good evening, and thank you all for having us here to accept this award to my Yaya, her grandmother, Dora. It's amazing, like, after all these years, and after she's been gone for a handful of years now, that she's getting this amazing recognition. And my family is so thankful to everyone in here, to the committee, Roly, Kiki, the whole group. This is a tremendous honor to the whole family, and I know she's smiling down from us from heaven. She set the bar really high, and that's whether it be female athletics, school, community, church. She did everything. She was the rock of our family. She set the example that myself, my uncle, kind of lived by. The values that I've preached to my 3 boys. We're Ipswich residents. They'll go through the Ipswich high school and school programs, and I'm just incredibly honored to have her follow in their footsteps. Thank you.
What to say? Thank you all on the committee for inducting my mom into the Ipswich High Hall of Fame. it's a tremendous honor. And what Bill said, he left out a few things. First, no, my mom was ferocious, let's just say. When Bill said, she set a high bar for my brother George and I, it was a real stick. Actually, may have hit me a few times. She was the one. By the way, did you know that? No.
She was nicer to her grandchildren.
Maybe it was just me. Deanna's tremendous. Town of Ipswich, she loved. Born here, lived her whole life, worked in the schools, worked at the senior center, volunteered at the senior center. So her whole life she was giving, and that spirit's lived on through us and the rest of the family. So thank you very much for the induction. She deserved it. And archery, thank God she's done that for me.
Thank you. Our next induction is going to be performed by Andy Kotter-Zandowski, who will be inducting Anna, hopefully.
Hi, and thank you, Hannah, for including me in this amazing night of yours. And everyone else is here, by the way. Congratulations to everybody that is being inducted tonight. Hannah was an outstanding three-sport scholar athlete at Ipswich High School. She was captain of 3 sports in her senior year. We're going to tell just a real quick story before I continue with all the accolades. That Amber Smith, who's also she's going to be inducted tonight as well, but one of my fondest memories of Hannah was her freshman year. We were playing against Manchester, and they were pretty good that year, so it was going to be a tough game, and Amber was in the bathroom and not feeling well. She said she was really sick. She thought she had the flu, and I sent one of the assistants back and said, let her know she doesn't have the flu, and we really need her to get out here. So Amber couldn't make it, and she had to be really sick to not come out and play. So we got the team together before the jump ball, and I said to everybody, okay, Amber's not here. She's averaging like 20-something points and double-figure rebounds a game, so everybody's got to come out big in this game. And then I pulled Hannah aside and said, that really meant you, not everybody else. And she did, and I remember talking to her dad after the game, just thinking, wow, like she put up 35 points and she had the game of her life, and she was a very unassuming player, especially as an underclassman. And I say unassuming in a way that she wasn't one to go for hers or, to look at stats or anything like that. Really, we were fortunate not to have a team of that at all. But Hannah she set the bar and set the example for just playing in such a humble way. So for her to go out there and do that on that game, it sort of set the tone of what we were going to be looking at for the next 4 years, which was super exciting stuff. And we did win the game. So she went on in basketball. She scored 1,050 points in her career, one of 4 Tigers who have scored 1,000 points or more. Hannah averaged 18 points per game and 12 rebounds her senior year. As a result of her basketball prowess, Hannah was named captain for us, as well as Boston Globe All-Scholastic 2011 Salem News Player of the Year twice. She won it back-to-back years. Team MVP twice. Cape Ann League All-League Player twice, which was very, very competitive. Cape Ann League Player of the Year twice, which is pretty amazing as well. She helped us capture 3 Cape Ann League titles, and we made it to the Division III North semifinals in her senior year, and Hannah was very much our leader that year. Hannah was a hardworking, amazing leader and teammate. The Salem Evening News honored Hannah as one of the North Shore's best multi-sport athletes of the 21st century. And I remember so many times thinking to myself, wow, this girl could end up, going she could go anywhere she wanted with basketball, depending on what she wanted to put, into it and what she wanted to give up. Because, if you want to play at a really high level in college, you do have to give up a lot. But I admired her so much because she stayed true to just the sportsmanship of Ipswich High School and the spirit of being a three-sport athlete and playing in the band. Jerry Dolan's here tonight as well, and I remember saying to Jerry, back off. Basketball comes first, not an instrument. But Jerry was great. He was great working, and Hannah showed that that she really could do it all and just embrace Ipswich High School and represent as a female student athlete. So I really did admire her for that as much as I kind of wanted her all to myself. She was also a standout Cape Ann League goalie for the Tigers soccer team. She was elected captain. She was MVP and North Sectional finalist in her senior year for soccer. In track, Hannah was captain, state champion in the 400 meter and team heptathlon, second in the state heptathlon and discus, Boston Globe All-Scholastic, Salem News Athlete of the Year twice, All-State and All-New England in the 4x400 relay, Cape Ann League All-League 4 times, MVP of track 4 times, Cape Ann League Athlete of the Year twice, and Ipswich High record holder for the 800 meter. Hannah continued track while at Dartmouth College in the 200 meter, 400 meter, and the discus. She also received the Salem Evening News Student Athlete of the Award and was a member of the National Honor Society. Post-college, Hannah earned an internship with the NBA, worked at ESPN, and is now affiliated with the WNBA. She travels the world and works to empower girls and women in sports and has done just an incredible job with that. Small town Ipswich, and she's out there in the big world representing women and female youth, and it's very, very inspiring. So congratulations, Hannah.
Love you, Mandy. First, I'd like to personally thank the Hall of Fame team for providing a platform to celebrate the remarkable individuals in this room. Among all the accolades I've ever received, this one, by far, means the most to me. And most importantly, thank you for selecting me as the first O'Flynn over all these other losers. Truly, though, our family's full of athletes. They all deserve to be here, too. From a young age, as you can guess, I was extremely competitive. My parents threw me into every sport possible. Even during recess, I had zero interest in doing anything that wasn't active. I would always play football with the boys. I remember my classmate Taylor coming up to me and saying, "You're such a tomboy." At the time, I wanted nothing to do with being girly. I told people I was allergic to the color pink. During my Allen Iverson era, I wore an oversized t-shirt and shorts way past my knees.
Oh no.
When I went birthday shopping with my Gigi, I only shopped in the boys section. You can ask her. Without ever directly talking about these decisions or fully understanding why I was proud to be one of the boys, it all makes sense now. I wanted to be valued for what I was capable of. I found my idols in Mia Hamm, Venus and Serena Williams, and high school athletes like my neighbor Leah Began, Megan and Molly Berry, and especially Amber Smith. I remember like it was yesterday, 6th grade, my first intramural basketball game, where I learned when people referred to Amber, they always included her last name. Miss McNichols said, "Oh, you're playing Amber Smith's team today? Good luck." She dropped 20 points on us in the first half. She wasn't just Amber, she was the Amber Smith. All of these women were shattering barriers in Hannah's middle school brain, challenging and changing what playing like a girl meant to me. They were impressive and confident and bold, and I wanted to be like that. I stand here as a testament to the impact women can have on empowering girls to defy stereotypes and carve their own paths. There is no coincidence that my career has evolved to center around women's sports. But the real MVPs are sitting in this room. To have a support system that teaches you to realize your full potential is rare. Coaches like Mandy, who taught me to have tough skin and learn to value criticism, who taught me there is nothing more glorious and satisfying than chugging water after running repeat suicides, whose family became my basketball family. Zach's motto, "Turn the page," is ingrained in me. Coach Bennett, who introduced me to the 400-meter dash, my greatest gift and my worst enemy. He challenged me because he knew I was capable. And he made running in a circle as fast as you can possibly can and throwing up fun. Coach Spell, who looked me dead in the eye right before the gun went off and said, "Hannah, it's all mind over matter." Coach Welch, who recounted his hardest days as a Navy SEAL anytime I would complain about my workouts. Jerry, Mr. Dolan, my favorite teacher, who taught me how to improvise on the fly, as helpful in basketball as it was in jazz, who made Ipswich into the real-life high school musical, where I played the national anthem and then did the jump ball. And then I came after to practice, sweating and still in my uniform, to jazz band. Gardy, who's been a lifelong coach in each of my sports, who's always looked out for me at school and just so happens to be my uncle. Uncle Mike, whose emphatic cheering came dangerously close to getting a personal escort out of every game. A team like the O'Flynn clan, who rolls deep. I don't know if you noticed this entire section, it's like us. I had my own personal tiger den at every game. They taught me the importance of being present and showing up. My sister Bridget, the best teammate I've ever had, who had the same competitive spirit as me and taught me what grit and leaving it on the floor really looks like. And finally, my parents. Mom, you sacrificed everything for us. The older I get, the more baffled I am that you really raised 5 girls within the span of 10 years. If that's not a superhero, I don't know what is. You are our biggest fan. You put your whole heart into every one of our games, cheering louder and clapping harder than anyone. You always made me feel heard. You always made me feel loved. Thank you for being so selfless. Dad, thank you for teaching me to seek out greatness, that those things in life that are worth doing well. That preparation is the greatest confidence there is. You were by my side when I ran my fastest, received my best grades, and got the job. But you were also there when I was lying on the ground, an hour before my race at nationals, numbed by anxiety. You taught me that I deserved to be there, and I was exactly where I needed to be. You taught me to embrace the pressure. You taught me to do things scared. Being an athlete has shown me that growth is on the other side of your comfort zone. It has given me the audacity to travel across the country and around the world to places like Paris, London, and Rwanda to share my love for sports and storytelling. It has given me the audacity to pitch myself as a producer and host for my own show at ESPN. And it has given me the audacity to leave my family and people I love dearly to pursue my career and reach what I know is my full potential. But no matter how many places I've been to or lived, Ipswich has always been home. It's where I'm from. It's what made me. And leaving this town only further solidifies that feeling. How special it is to be back in the room with the people who made it home for me. The last person I would like to mention is Dan Follansby, who is so humbly involved in Ipswich athletics and each of my sister's journeys, who never missed a game or practice. He could not be here today. I know he would have loved it. I was at his funeral service on Monday, but I like to think he's smiling and sitting in this room with us right now. We don't have forever with everyone. These memories that we go back to, they're so beautiful. Because at that moment, it was so routine, so regular. To be with your role models, teammates, coaches, and family. And now looking back, most of us would give anything to go back and experience playing with them one more time. I say this not to live nostalgically in the past, but to encourage you to make an impact on what's happening in your life right now. This Hall of Fame honor we have is not the end. It's recognition for what we've done, but more than anything, it's a reminder to pass on that passion, that drive, and those lessons that someone taught us to ignite the same fire in others.
No, Dr. Hugh, this brings back a memory for me. One day, walking past Dr. Hugh, he says, "Hey, you think Ken is going to be a good athlete?" Turned out well, he did. A long time ago. All right, let's see if I get this right now. I have misplaced my list that had, no, not that, that's not, I have ballot. I need to know who is the next speaker.
Bill.
It's mad.
So, I believe I'm gonna ask Mel Bowen to tell me that. Mel, who's speaking for Dyna?
I'm on my way.
All right. This is the estimable Mel Bowen. She's going to be introducing to you career of David Dyna. Here comes Mel.
Thank you, Rolly. Everybody hear me okay back there? I'm just going to go off script for just a couple of seconds here. Somebody here I'd like to recognize for all the work she's done for the Ipswich football boosters. What better place to say it than a room full of athletic people, support athletics and all kinds of things. But Robin Weil is unbelievable. Such a great job. I know she doesn't do it alone, but she leads them. She does an awful lot of work, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. Robin, you did a great job. Thank you. Drew, you as well, buddy. All right. I am here to present David Player, also known as Dyna. And on the plaque and on the program, it's spelled D-I-N-A-H. That's not the right spelling. It should be D-Y-N-A. That's on me. So, David was an outstanding multi-sport high school athlete. Played football and basketball during his career. He was well liked by both his peers and teachers, was a very outgoing and all-around great student athlete. He received the name Dyna. Now this is two things now. He received the name Dyna. One story has it that Hall of Famer Mike Singer gave him the name Dyna, which was short for dynamite because he was such a great athlete. The other story was that he had a piggy bank, and his parents would not let him open it for a long time. And they were doing some dynamite work down by the old town, where the town hall is now, which used to be the annex, whatever it was. And he thought they were gonna blow it up and dynamite it up, so he went down there and asked the guys to dynamite his piggy bank so he could get his money out. And the teammates and coaches alike liked it. No, they all called him Dyna and the name stuck. He played football for 3 years and was named the co-captain his senior year. He also played basketball for 3 years and helped lead the Tigers to their 1950 undefeated season. He was a teammate who worked hard and always gave his team 100% no matter what. Off the field and the court, Dyna contributed to the IHS community in many ways. As a member of the class of 1950, he was voted class president and class athlete. He was an active member of many clubs and activities, including the varsity club, boys state, and student congress. Dyna was a United States Army veteran, proudly serving our country. After his time in the United States Army, he was the proprietor of the Southside General Store during the 60s and had a career in insurance. He also volunteered his time back to the community by being an Ipswich Booster Club member and an Ipswich Little League coach. I was in contact with two of his sons, David and Peter, both Ipswich High School graduates and athletes, and they couldn't make it tonight, but they wanted me to say this. We want to thank the committee for inducting our father into the Hall of Fame. We also want to thank our cousin Donald Oakes for submitting his nomination to the committee for consideration. Some of our earliest and fondest memories are spending time with our dad, playing catch with the football or baseball or shooting baskets. It was something we always looked forward to as kids, and he had as much fun as we did. He never told us he didn't have the time. We never realized how good of an athlete our dad was because he never spoke to us about his accomplishments. Instead, we heard about his achievements from relatives and guys he went to school with, but never from him. Unfortunately, we are unable to attend the ceremony as we both live out of state and are spending the holidays with our families. Thank you once again for honoring our dad by inducting him into the Hall of Fame, David and Peter Player. At this time, I'd like to call up Amanda Owen, Dyna's daughter, to present the plaque and have her say a couple words.
I'd just like to say my brother said it all, and I just want to say on behalf of all of us, thank you for honoring my dad.
No. All right.
Thank you, Mel. Our next nominee is Don, known as Slugger, Burke. Heather, please come on.
Why, thank you very much, everyone. I would just like to say thank you to everyone who came out this evening. I know that Thanksgiving was just yesterday. Some of us have probably traveled. Probably wasn't easy, but just wanted to say thank you. It's very nice that we all get to celebrate all our loved ones. So my dad has been a Raleigh resident and an Ipswich resident his entire life. Attending Ipswich High School, he graduated in 1952. He was outstanding in baseball, basketball, and football. He played each sport for all 4 years, and he received his varsity letter all 4 years for playing baseball, especially for being the catcher, where he was then given his nickname as Slugger. He also received his varsity letter from his sophomore, junior, and senior year for basketball and for football. In Don, my father's 4-year career, his teams had gone to a couple of championships. In 1950, his basketball team was undefeated in league play, but lost in the finals to the Tech Tourney. And then in 1951, his basketball team was Cal champs, and the baseball team in 1952 was also Cal champs. My dad was also the co-captain of his football team, My dad entered the Army, like many of his other classmates, after graduating high school, and he was stationed in Puerto Rico. My father found this quite fantastic because he was stationed as hurricane warning, which to my father seemed like a pretty decent job for the Army at the time. Also, his real job, though, was playing baseball. The other fantastic thing about Puerto Rico is you get baseball and you get all the gorgeous women. So, what could be better? After his discharge from the Army, my dad then attended Springfield College, and before signing with the LA Dodgers organization in 1956, my dad played for the Dodgers Double-A team in Thompsonville, Georgia, and then he played for the Triple-A team in Great Falls, Montana. My dad came up with the Dodger organization with Sandy Koufax as well as Don Drysdale. He was traded to St. Louis in 1958, and not wanting to play for the St. Louis organization, my dad retired from baseball and moved back to home in Ipswich and Ratley. I've also been told that maybe if he could hit a curveball, things could have been different. But back home, he assisted his brother Bob, who has also been indicted into this fantastic athletic Hall of Fame, and he founded the Ipswich Chiefs baseball team, as well as coaching the Little League Ipswich team baseballs as well. My father has probably gone to every game that there ever was, for as long as he could go to them. My father was my biggest cheerleader. He was at every game, rain, shine, it didn't matter. He had a bag in his van that was just for sports weather gear, whether it was at the Patriots game, our games, his grandson's baseball games. We were there, rain, shine, and no matter if we won, we lost, there was always a hug, a smile, a great game, and probably a Dairy Queen at the end. He also probably taught every child in my neighborhood how to swim, how to ride a bike. When the boys would come over, he would teach them the right way to hit a baseball and the better way to maybe throw a spiral. But he was always there to coach, and he was always there to help someone whenever they needed. He was a very humble and very proud man. And I wish he was here tonight to receive this, but I know that he's looking down. He's very excited. So thank you all very much.
This is Don Burke's son, Donald Jr. Say a couple of words. Promise only a couple.
Thank you, everybody. Dad would have been especially proud of this tonight. He was very, very close with his older brother, Bob. And Bob is actually the reason why Dad ended up at Ipswich High School. I think Bob was coaching there at the time, I believe, and that's why he went there. And he was getting towards the end when Bob was inducted into this, and he was very, very pleased. He couldn't come, but it pleased him greatly, and it would doubly please him that he gets to follow Bob into this wonderful thing. I was trying to think of a way to describe my father to all these people who don't know him. I thought about it, and it just the same thing kept coming to me. Dad always was a ball player. That's what he did, it's who he was. He grew up with 3 older brothers who dragged him along from the very beginning. Played in an era where every town had a team, every church had a team, every business had a team, there were leagues everywhere. He would play for 3 or 4 teams at the same time. 3 or 4 games a day, running, not driving, running between the games. And it took him everywhere, baseball. He played the other sports, but that's because you can't play baseball around here in January and February, or he would have, and I'm sure he tried to. Like Heather said, if he could hit a major league curveball, I would have been growing up in Southern California. When he retired because he was a little bit older than most of the people he was playing with, because he had already been in the Army, he had already gone to college. And he realized that was it, that was his time. He took his shot, he did his best, and almost got him to where the top would be. And when he moved back here, he took all those lessons, all that attitude into his real life, secondary life. He started out at the bottom working, worked his way in the warehouse, in the back end of a truck, took a couple classes at night school, ended up being the warehouse manager, and then the materials manager for a couple of really high-tech government companies, government contracting companies, and then vice president of manufacturing or the warehouses. And it's the same attitude. He was a ball player. Ball player didn't mean you played good baseball. It's what you did. It's you showed up. You did what you were supposed to do when you were supposed to do it. Not just in the ball field, but in life. If you took a job, you showed up when you were supposed to be there. You put that into my brother, both my sisters. And if you're wondering how she could be my sister, I'll explain all that later. It's a good story. But he would be so pleased tonight. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Burks. Our next honoree will be Rosalie Sweeney, who will be presented by Kiki Papajonas.
I need that folder when you're done. We're learning so much.
When I first telephoned Rosie, and well, actually, we were at the Hart House for dinner, and we brought some flowers with us. We went to Rosie's room, and she was serving us at the time, and I said, Rosie, I'm here to say that you're a nominee for to be inducted for the Ipswich Athletic Hall of Fame. And she said, who paid you to say this? Is this a joke? I'm like, no, Rosie, this is fact. You've done some research, and you were a stud. And she said, well, so I talked with her a little bit, just there at the Hart House, gathering more information, and I said, what about athletics? And she said, well, I just don't understand how women, now she entered Ipswich High School in 1949, folks, okay? I just don't understand why women aren't athletes, why they don't want to be athletes. This is 20 plus years pre-Title IX, folks. Can you imagine what she would have done, Title IX? So let me give you a brief overview. Rosie graduated in 1952 from Ipswich High School. She was voted class athlete by her classmates. She played 3 sports. Here we go again. Archery, basketball, where she was captain in her senior year, and she was an outstanding defensive player. I wouldn't have guessed that, right? She played softball as well. The 1953 Tiger, you know how yearbooks used to, I don't know what they do now, but they used to make little sayings under the pictures. Best girl athlete, marvelous athletic ability. She loves sports for the sport of it. And that's Rosie. As a student athlete, she participated in those 3 sports. And again, basketball was the only interscholastic sport that was offered. For 4 years, Rosie played an integral part on the basketball team, culminating in her election as captain in senior year. After graduation, and this is who Rosie is, she continued her love of sports. She ran every morning at the Beverly Y, the old Beverly Y Oval, and later on took up tennis just to stay active. She would do anything to stay in shape, even while raising 3 children with her husband Ed. After high school, Rosie attended aviation training school. I bet that's something none of you would ever imagine. There are more little secrets here, okay? She wanted to join the airlines to see the world. Upon her graduation from aviation school, Rosie was offered a position at Northwest Airlines in California, but chose to remain in Ipswich, where she met Eddie, her husband, her future husband. She met Eddie, as she tells me in the story. She met him, and she said, I want to meet this guy because he was driving a yellow convertible. Right, Rosie? Right. That's it. Well, she married Ed. They settled in Ipswich. Eventually, Eddie worked for TWA. And she and Eddie and the children, Mike, Kathy, and Edu, were able to travel. But Rosie did travel. She did see the world through TWA. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the woman who loves sports for the sport of it, class athlete, 1953, Rosalie, Rosie, Archie, Sweeney.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Well, this has been quite a night. It's been just quite a few months. As Kiki says, I was astonished. Well, I'm going to start. I have a piece of paper here that I've written a speech, so I'm going to go along with it, okay? It may be a little repetitious, but all right. I am nervous. And Kim says, you're not shy. Hi, friends and family, and all the inductees of the Ipswich High School Athletic Hall of Fame of 2023. Wow. What an honor it is to be among you all exceptional and deserving athletes. This is so special. As many of you know, I am still working as a waitress at the fabulous 1640 Hot House. A job I truly love, as I've been there 35 years. The owners, Kim and Jim Lesko, are the best people to work for. They treat their employees as family, and believe me, that's one big happy family.
Yes, it is!
Would you believe I have my own room, namely the Rosalie Sweeney living room. How cool is that? Now, this is the Kiki touched upon, but I'll read it anyway. On a Wednesday this summer, while working at the Hart House, Kiki, Pat, Bob, and Sturgis were having dinner in the living room. A great time. I always have enjoyed their company. Kiki and Pat asked me to sit down as they had something to talk to me about. Out came a bouquet of flowers and the word, congratulations. They told me that I was going to be inducted into Ipswich High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Tears, smile, laughter, and astonishment. And what are you talking about? Never in my wildest dreams did I think such an honor would be in my lifetime. The rest of the evening, I was in La La Land. And that's a pretty good land to be in. You could not wipe the smile off my face. It didn't seem real until I got a letter of congratulations from Rosalie Hinckley. I always have been a sports enthusiast, ever since my dad took me to a Red Sox game when I was 8 years old. This was a great thrill, since television wasn't in existence then, and radio was. Red Sox and Patriots were always my teams. While I was in grade school, which was a Burley school, which is now condoed, I was a go-to girl, meaning getting everyone together at recess and go doing outdoor activities. And believe me, it was a tough task to do because our athletic area, wherever we wanted to play, was all gravel, and we had many bruised knees. Upon entering Ipswich High School, which started with the 8th grade, and also now is known as the Ipswich Town Hall, I found my passion in basketball, softball. Archery was also on my agenda. Well, that was a tough sport. You gotta be strong to do that. Believe it or not, these were the only sports available for girls. Of course, we do running and exercises on the football field and in the gym. Miss Cogswell was our basketball coach with the assistance of Coach Elliot Roundy, which many of you probably remember. He was a great, great guy. My position was guard because I could be aggressive and move quickly. Girls basketball back then in the early 50s was different than what it is now. One important factor was the guards and the forwards were not allowed to cross the center line, meaning guards and forwards had half courts. Also, guards were not allowed to shoot the baskets. Can you imagine if we were allowed to just cross that line? I can only imagine what would happen. One can only wonder about that. I think it was a lot harder to maintain your balance and not crossing the center court. I was captain and I seriously enjoyed it. Now, another page here. During this time, I developed a liking for roller skating when I got a pair of roller skates for Christmas. Sidewalk skating was a little tricky, but I loved it. My dad would drive me to Salisbury Beach and the Havel skating rinks, and I thought of being a roller derby skater myself. I love roller skating. I really did. To watch all those grooves around the rinks. As the years go by, vocations change with the times. Boyfriends come into the picture. New times at the high school was social time, and the auditorium became a dance hall with a phonograph and the latest records. Dancing with the boys from other classes was something to look forward to. Many relationships started that way. We all had our steadies and we all had our heartbreaks. Being a teenager in high school had a lot of challenges. Those were the days, my friends. In later years, I ran the track at the Beverly Wires, like you said, and exercised daily. Tennis was also my game, and I played at the Linewood Playground. And I also did bowling. I started a couple of leagues in Ipswich, and we bowled twice a week. Got some trophies, too. My sons, Michael and Edgar, were excellent athletes at Ipswich High School. Michael was a wrestler and excelled in football, where he held a tackling record for many years, and Edu excelled in football, soccer, and hockey. My husband Eddie was also a football athlete at Ipswich High. Years later, he sponsored the local softball teams and also he had his own team, namely Sweeney's Geanakos, which many of you maybe have been there.
Or a product of.
I was also proud, very proud to be named the class athlete of 1953. And now to be in the Ipswich High School Athletic Hall of Fame is a fantastic honor. I would be remiss in not naming or acknowledging my teammates. The girls that were on my team. Ann Kelleher, Ann Hammersley, Beverly Horton, Betty Nelson, Ann Lombard, Ginny Player, Shirley Hosman, Edith Hall, and manager Ronnie Blair. They were all part of this. I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for them being part of my team. I would also like to thank the committee for the terrific work that they do in the selection of these worthy athletes and honoring them. We all, as we all are honoring them tonight. Congratulations to all you wonderful athletes, and God bless you all.
Rosalie, I have one last greeting for you from Steve Angeli, who is this week himself inducted into the Salem High School Hall of Fame. So I saw him last night, wanted me to wish you all wonderful things. All right, next, calling on myself. My name is Roy Hinckley. For those who don't know, I'm the chairman of the High School Hall of Fame. I'm here to induct, to be the inductee for Edward Ned Cooke. Ned is being inducted for a stellar career as a wrestler and a football player at Ipswich High School. Most notable, though, is that Ned began his wrestling career under the tutelage of IHS Hall of Fame coach Burke. Ned is a man of achievement and leadership. He is an excellent and prime example of Ipswich High School student athlete. Ned accomplished a total season record in his 3-year varsity career, 24 wins and 12 losses. In wrestling, Ned earned a selection during his career into what we believe was the first Massachusetts State wrestling tournament in his senior year, and earned a prestigious 4th place in that event. He also, in the previous year, and his senior year, as well as junior year and his senior year, his record was 7-4, and then 9-4. He led the team to 2nd place in then the most prestigious Merrimack Valley tournament. That was one of the only tournaments for wrestlers that there was in those years of his high school career. Ned served as co-captain in his senior year, and in that senior year, he wrestled up to a 9-4 season during his senior year. He also earned 3 varsity letters as a football player, and was at Ipswich High School. in his senior year, he was co-captain with his teammate Bob Weil. And after that, he was accepted to attend the Coast Guard Academy. And eventually, during his career, by the end of his career, he had received the rank of commander as well. So I would like to present to you Commander, retired, Ned Cooke.
Thank you very much. I'm quite honored, frankly quite surprised to be inducted here this evening. Actually, the first I'd heard of the Hall of Fame was a couple of years ago when my older brother was his football team was inducted. The 59 team was undefeated. And trying to think of what really inspired me in high school athletics, and it really comes down to, I mentioned here probably 4 or 5 times already this evening, we have what's Bob Burke. Part of his inspiration was a good smack on the side of the head. That's one in my mouth. But he truly was somebody who would get the best out of anybody that he was coaching. If you notice that from the picture in the book, that maybe has been a little bit of weight gain. But that's because I'm planning on retiring in a few years, looking at what I might be doing. Sumo wrestling might be. But see how they don't have a lightweight division? I'm going to have to lose some weight. But that's part of wrestling. And an interesting story with Bob Burke at the end was when we traveled, wrestling was a brand new program, so there wasn't a lot of money involved. So the coach got to drive the bus when we traveled. And also back in those days, you didn't get to weigh in a day ahead of time, qualify, and then go off and compete. You had to weigh in directly before the match. So we were traveling, I think up to Claremont, and he had us all weigh in after high school before we left, just so that we didn't make that trip. And I knocked a half pound over, back up beside the head, and said, "You sit next to me on the bus." Okay. So get on the bus, he comes in, puts a bucket in front of me, and says, "Spit." So by the time we got to Claremont, I was a half pound under. Rather dry in the mouth. Steve Daly, who's going to be coming up, during my seat, well, we both wrestled the same weight class, but in my senior year, I was supposed to be wrestling 133, but so was Steve, and I couldn't beat Steve. So I had to move up a class to wrestle 138, and Steve struggled to make 133, and I got to eat all the ice cream I wanted. You see any?
You're welcome.
Any method to my madness, perhaps? But for football, I did get an opportunity halfway through my sophomore year, due to an injury to the senior to start in a game, and I managed to score 2 touchdowns. And, so as a sophomore, I felt pretty good. Enough so that I got up the gumption to call the girl that I had met that summer. Didn't have enough gumption to tell her who I was. That lasted for a few phone calls until her dad said, if he's not going to tell you who he is, then you're not going to talk to him anymore. So she's sitting here, my wife of 56 years. I heard it a few years ago here at the induction for my brother's team. I was thinking what it was for Ipswich athletes and why other teams didn't particularly want to play them. Because the Ipswich kids are tough. They're really dedicated to winning. And that's true. I know that my father played on state championship teams back in the 30s. When Little Ipswich played and beat Hazen High School, Class A. So that's just the way we played the game. Big thing for Kelly Browning was, of course, the head coach for football. And that was, despite some of his crying half-times, that was, that's what he expected was tough play, not dirty play. It was, I can remember one, I believe it was Drake had one player who would incite you to retaliate against his play. One thing you got to learn: never pick a fight for the skunk. You're never going to win. So it was, he just wanted us to play tough football and just give it our best. And I'm starting to wander, so it's time to sit down. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is going to be introduced by Coach Jack Welch, who will be introducing Steve Daly. Member of the Ipswich High School Hall of Fame.
Very happy to be here. Steve Daly, honestly, and I didn't realize that not just right now, but all the people.
Can't hear you, Coach.
The mic up.
Steve was my first quarterback. That lasted one game. He was, I came on in 1964. I had 50 guys off the football, on up to 30. So it was a tough start on that particular side of the field. Steve got his off end of a broken ankle for the rest of the year. He was my look team quarterback. So finally got back to playing football the last 3 or 4 games. But at that particular time, when I came in, I had several problems. One of them being having people stay with me for a long period of time. Steve gutsed it out for the whole year with me. He came back and finally at the beginning of the last 3 games, and then
we wanted to make it 6-3, which is pretty much what I didn't think we could do, but they thought they could do it. So anyhow, Steve Daly was really one of my all-time favorite quarterbacks because he only played 1 year. But he certainly became my look captain, my look team member for the last 5 games we played. So Steve Daly. The thing I wanted to say before I got up here was that we had on Friday night, date night with my wife, we called it Friday night fights. We did all the wrestling matches on Friday night, and after the wrestling match was over, across the street to the White Cap. So every Friday night was date night with my wife. So we called it fight night, date night. So,
And it took 50 years to thank you for that. This is an honor that I never expected. Can you hear me if I just talk? Okay, I'll talk into this. Okay. I'm honored to be in this class of inductees. I got a call back in July, I think it was, from Rosalie, who told me that I had been elected to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. And he said, I'll send you a letter. Be there. And we've had very pleasant conversations ever since. The most significant emotion that I have about this night is humility. I'm here among a group of athletes that are so much more accomplished than I am, or ever was. And I'm just humbled by that. I'm happy to be here, obviously, and I congratulate all of my fellow inductees for your accomplishments and also your election into the Hall of Fame. Teddy Roosevelt once said, do what you can with what you have when you can. And that's pretty much the mantra that Coach Bob Burke gave to us as wrestlers. He recruited almost all of us by coaching us through elementary school and junior high school as our gym coach, and putting us through a variety of sports and just seeing how we played and how we competed. And he picked the wrestling team. The wrestling team did not pick wrestling. He had a dream, a vision, that Ipswich could be a prominent name in the high school wrestling community in not only Massachusetts but New England. And having been a graduate of Springfield College, where wrestling was very prominent, Springfield at the time was probably the dominant collegiate wrestling program in the Northeast. And he was very proud of that, and he would take a number of us out to Springfield every spring to be introduced to the coaches and to tour the campus and to see what the school was like. Obviously, those were recruiting trips. And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. When I chose to go to Maine, after playing for Coach Welch for 4 games. Actually, it was maybe 3 1/3 or something like that. But Coach Burke took me aside after I made that choice, and he said to me, you know, Daly, you're a much better wrestler than you are a football player. And to a certain extent, I guess that's true, because I'm here because I was a wrestler, not because I was a football player. I'm I'm sure many of you don't know, but I did go on to play football at the University of Maine for 4 years. And I said to Coach Welch recently, you know, you must be a hell of a salesman. You talk to the coaches at Maine, and you pitch them on a quarterback who had played 3 games in high school. And he went on to play 4 years at Maine. So I had 2 mentors in high school. Coach Burke was obviously one of them, and Coach Welch was the other. Both became lifelong friends and lifelong mentors. And I love them both, and Jack knows that, Sandy knows that, and we'll always be friends. I had 2 major fans in high school. My biggest fan was my mother. She would show up at every wrestling meet, and I could hear her voice saying, "Pin him, Stevie, pin him." And I loved her. She passed away when I was in college, and she was just a wonderful woman. I had a secret admirer at the time, too, that I didn't know about. But she and I have been married for 50 years now. My wife, Leslie. She's here tonight with our daughter, Tyler. And our son, Daly. And I wish I had my glasses on. So I will. Rosalie mentioned that there are 4 categories, 4 or 5? 5 categories to the Hall of Fame. I submit to you there should be a 6th one. It should be the pioneers. Because on the wrestling team, we were pioneers. We were the first wrestlers, and within 4 years, we had an undefeated season, and we won the Merrimack Valley tournament, and we had the greatest fans Ipswich High School could ever have. They filled the cafeteria at the old high school. It's no longer there. They endured the odor, and they cheered us on to many, many wins. We had certain schools that we were very competitive with. North Andover High School was one of them. Westford Academy was another one. Governor Dummer was another. And Coach Burke would line us up with the best wrestling teams in the area. We were wrestling against Brookline and Malden and Braintree, schools much bigger than we were. And we wrestled against a lot of the private schools too. We wrestled Brooks and Groton Academy and Lawrence Academy, and they were good wrestlers. We beat them all. Not the first time, but the second or third time. We beat everybody. Wrestling is an individual sport. It's almost a reclusive sport. You're on the mat against your opponent, and there's nobody else doing anything but the 2 of you. And the crowd watches and cheers you on and jeers the referees, of course. And it's a true litmus test, because you either win or you lose. And it's all up to you and your ability to confront that opponent, and not just physically or using technique, but also mentally overcome them. We all had our nemesis, our Moriarties, you might say, going through high school. Ned, I don't know who yours was. Bugg, I don't know who yours was. Billy, I don't know who yours was, but mine was a guy named Jim Powers out of North Andover. I wrestled against him for 4 years, and he beat me every year until the Merrimack Valley tournament when I was a senior. That was held at Ipswich High School. And in that one match, I beat him. And that was the pinnacle of my wrestling career. I've never forgotten that moment. I even have the photographs that were taken then. And I was elected the most valuable wrestler of the tournament. That was an enormous honor, a thrill, and just to beat the one person you can't beat was just so rewarding. It's amazing. But wrestling isn't just an individual sport. When I was a senior, we had a 14-0 record. And in the years prior to that, our records kept getting better and better and better. We were becoming well-known and I think very well respected. Maybe not feared, but respected in the wrestling community in the high schools. I was just one among many, and the many were the pioneers. And there were names like Weninger and McLeod and Gaspar, Hetner, Seifert, Bateman, Soroka, Ham, Gerard, Stevens, Trockey, Sullivan, Chambers. Those were the pioneers. And then there was the second and the third wave, and there were names like Jardel, which nobody could spell. I don't think I spelled it right here either. Robichaud, Jordan, Hasserlat, Coulter, Kamick, Perkins, Cooke, Daly, Loss, Mary, Fessenden. And then it went on to Trudell, No, Perkins, LaRochelle, Jandron, Roberts, and another Sullivan. We weren't just teammates, we were friends. And it's an interesting dynamic because you have to wrestle against each other. And as Ned said, and I appreciate the lie, Ned, that you never beat me. You had to wrestle each other before every match in order to determine who was going to wrestle for the team in that upcoming match. So it created an interesting and unique bond among all of us that you could beat the same person time after time after time, but back at the next practice, you were friends socially, and you just competed again because you were trying to make each other better. I owe my success in large measure to Ned because he wrestled tough all the time, and he was a lot stronger than I was. And there were others as well that were my guide-ons, Hubie Gasper and Tom Soroka and Billy Sullivan. They were all wrestlers, and Joe Robichaud. They were all wrestlers who taught me things, but the one who taught me the most was Coach Burke. He was a wrestler himself, and he would teach us by showing us how to execute the different maneuvers, and he would wrestle with us in order to teach us when to do it and when not to do it, and what mistakes not to make, so that our opponents didn't take advantage of us. He was a lot chunkier than we were, but you can't get your arm around everybody's waist. But he was strong, very strong. And he treated us all like sons. And that was a special bond that we had with him. We all miss him and wish him well where he is. And then came Coach Welch. You all know him, and you know the career he had at Ipswich High. I had been a quarterback. No, I wasn't. What was I? I think I was a halfback in the single wing. Anybody remember what the single wing is? Yeah, you do. Yeah, I played the same position Ned did, but I was always on the junior varsity. And when Elliot Roundy retired, and I heard that they had hired Jack Welch and that he was bringing an offense called the Wing T from Newburyport to Ipswich, I was ecstatic because I had played for years at Linebrook Playground as the quarterback on one of the teams. And my idol at the time was Y.A. Tittle, who was a quarterback for the New York Giants. And I couldn't wait for Coach Welch to show up. So when I heard that he had been hired, I sought him out, I introduced myself. He gave me a book that had this title that I just was amazed by. It said, The Wing Tee Offense. And I took that book and I read every page of it during that summer, and I practiced all the moves that a quarterback had to make in order to execute all the plays that were in that book. And when Coach Welch showed up, actually, we did something before that too. Several of us got together and we would go over to the beach on Plum Island, where Coach Welch was the head lifeguard, and we would play touch football on the beach. He told us that he couldn't coach us, so we just asked him questions. And he gave us good answers, and we tried to execute what he said we should do. So when he showed up on the first day of practice, I think there were, what, 14 of us? Something like that? Well, in the beginning, there were how many?
Black and orange. First week, the black and orange got together, supposedly scrimmage. So 12 guys showed up, and I can't scrimmage 12 guys. So I went downtown. Did you ever play football? And they said, yeah, get in the car. So I get 9 more people, 4 them back, and now they're hanging around here. But given uniforms, no insurance, and played. Ellie found he lost his mind. But yeah, finally 25 guys.
But that's how his career started. He had to scoop them off of Quince Corner, downtown, to get them up to the high school to play against us. And in his case, the rest is history. I spent a week, an afternoon with him and Sandy last weekend, just reminiscing in advance of this. And the last thing I said to him was, you know, you're a hell of a salesman. You had a quarterback that you'd never met before. He was a first-year quarterback. He gets hurt in the first game, ends up playing in only 3 games, and somehow you talk the Division I-A college coaches at the University of Maine into taking him on. How the hell did you do that? He's a great man. You know that. I'm humbled, and I'm thankful, and the rest of the night is for the rest of the inductees. Thank you much.
Our next inductee is a third wrestler. They're going to be inducted by committee member Bob Foote.
You might be wondering how we're going to follow all those other inductees, but I'll say, wait, there's more. And we're going to try to pick up the pace a little bit.
Yay!
Bill Wallace was a member of the championship class of 1969. This class had championship caliber teams in wrestling, football, and basketball, and probably other sports as well. He was the captain of the wrestling team his senior year, and the team finished with a record of 11-1. The team went all the way to the New England Finals. Bill also compiled a personal record of 11-1 that season as well. In the New England Finals, he lost on points after butting heads with his opponent and getting concussed during that match. The match continued, and his opponent said it was the toughest match he ever had. In his junior year, the wrestling team also finished with an impressive 10-1 record. He was a member of the wrestling team all 4 years of high school, earning his varsity letters starting in his sophomore year. Make some room for myself here. He was a member of the 1968 Class D champion football team. In his 4 years on the football team, he played varsity his junior and senior year. He played on both sides of the ball. but defense was his specialty, playing the monster position as defensive halfback. He also played on the fledgling lacrosse program, junior and senior year, if you remember, Gary. Lacrosse was in its second year at the school in 1968 and was still a club team. He ran track his sophomore and junior year as well. He served in the Air Force for 4 years after graduating high school as a radar weapons technician. He's married, and he and his wife Diane celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary this year.
Yeah.
They have 5 children and 8 grandchildren. Please join me in congratulating Bill Wallace.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you for the award, and I thank the committee. I thank Rory Hinckley and all the other folks on the committee, Dennis Doty. It's been quite a night, and as I look around, I see all these tables of families and friends that are gathered together to celebrate. And I just want to mention to Hannah that part of your success is the genes. Because during the potato famine, families that would not give up the O in front of their name, okay, didn't get the soup from the English. It just speaks to the toughness. A little bit of trivia. I'm not going to talk wrestling. Steve took care of that very, very well. Okay? And I agree with everything he said. It's very much an individual sport, and it's a mental sport. And I also want to throw out a tremendous thank you to Bugg LaRochelle. I don't know who this Daniel LaRochelle is, but I know Bugg LaRochelle. Okay? And his mother and father, right, were wonderful, wonderful folks. They took young kids that were interested in wrestling to these AAU tournaments in Lawrence and Lowell. And while you're there, you know, wrestling in your weight class, you're wrestling against, you're a sophomore in high school, you're wrestling Harvard, you know, freshmen and sophomores and 30-year-old men. So, I mean, that gives you the mental toughness you need to go back and handle any kind of high school wrestling. So that's the key. Family is the key. Coaching is the key. And of course, Jack's a salesman. All right? All coaches are salesmen, right, Jack? All right? Yeah, absolutely. They can sell, you know, ice to the Eskimos. So the coaching is key. Family is very key. And the rest is, you know, up to the good Lord. All right? Many times in that New England final, after I lost, I always used to think, geez, what happened? You know? And the reality is the good Lord was taking care of me. Because if I had won that tournament, right, and gone on and gotten that, you know, wrestling scholarships in some of the Midwest colleges, all right, I might never have met my wife for 50 years. And all you young ladies out there, all right, you want to marry a wrestler. Because if you heard carefully tonight, all right, Ned's been married 56 years. All right, Steve's been married 50 years, and I, thankfully, a week ago tonight, celebrated my 50th. So that's the key. Marry a wrestler.
Thank you, Bill. Next, we're going to induct Christine Heigh Fiore.
Do what I can to try to keep it brief. I had the pleasure of inducting Christine Heigh Fiore, class of 1982. She was an outstanding two-sport scholar athlete in field hockey and track and field. She had many great coaches. She had a lot of athletic talent, and she broke a lot of records. As a freshman, she was a member of the mile relay team that held that record, and she received the Coaches Award. As a sophomore, she flew over the hurdles and she broke the IH hurdle record 4 times. She was the Cape Ann League champion and the Cape Ann League hurdles record holder. She participated in a lot of the state meets and usually came in around 5th place. As a junior, she broke another record. It was the long jump this time. She didn't compete in the Cape Ann League due to injuries, but her previous IH records in the hurdles and the mile relay were still intact. As a sophomore, she was elected captain and voted MVP. Again, this time she had the IH record in the 440. She scored #1 points scored in a season and a career. She held 4 school records and was undefeated in the Cape Ann League. And again, she broke that hurdles record for the 5th time. She was selected to the Salem News as the Salem News All-Star. She also played field hockey for 4 years under Coach Holly Johnson, and she was the top goal scorer in her senior year. After high school, she attended UMass Lowell. She ran track, cross country as a walk-on scholarship athlete. Let's see. She wasn't finished. She stayed another semester because she wanted to play some field hockey. She couldn't do it while she was a scholar athlete in track. After college, she coached hurdles at Dover Sherborne for a few years. She presently lives in Dover, Massachusetts, with her wonderful husband, Paul, and 3 wonderful children. Please welcome Chris and Fiore.
I will be succinct. I'm going to try. Some of this will be a repeat, but give it my best shot. Thank you, Sandy, for that awesome introduction. That was great. Really appreciate it. And to the Hall of Fame committee for considering and accepting me for this prestigious group. I'm humbled to be mentioned alongside the outstanding inductees who came before me, and to all of the inductees who are being inducted tonight as well. I would love to thank my husband, who 50 years, that's a lot, 30 years in this room. So track has given me so much beyond the accolades mentioned here tonight. I learned about hard work, dedication, confidence, and that how much you are willing to put in, you get even more back out. The influence and dedication of my track coaches, first and foremost, Ken Spellman, but also Jack Welch, Wayne Arsenal, John Zahn. Yeah, Gene. No one would even know about these records without the best sports statistician, John Thomas. About the records that were time-based because they were obvious, but I did not know. Well, we had a very, very important induction ceremony when you broke a record and they wrote your name on a piece of athletic tape and stuck it on the wall outside the third wing as you were heading into the gym. We all remember that. But I didn't know about the records that were for points scored for a career and for a season until John Thomas stopped me in the hallway in the state meet. So I ran into him in the class meet. This time our athletes competed against each other. And I took the opportunity when I saw Ken to thank him for everything that he inspired in me, and that I was then able to give back to my athletes. And lastly, and most importantly, track gave me lifelong friends. Time in the classroom together is one thing, but hours spent on the field and on the track is where friendships are cemented. Susie, thank you so much for coming down from Maine tonight to be here. I'm so happy you could make it. We had a lot of fun in high school, and 40 years later, we still are. And a special thank you to Jean Clarkin, one of the nicest people I know, for your support and your friendship, and for the nomination to the Hall of Fame. I am grateful beyond words. Thank you.
The next inductee is Joe Stasiuk, who I had the opportunity and the honor to coach way back in the 8th grade when he was in 8th grade, presented by Dan Clasby.
Thank you, Rolly. Good evening, everyone. My pleasure to introduce Joe Stasiuk tonight. Joe was, like all our inductees, was a great three-sport athlete. And on the football gridiron, he played quarterback, and he played more than one game for Jack Welch at quarterback. He played basketball as baseball as well, and he was one of those athletes, like so many of them, that put his team ahead of his personal statistics. Joe was a 3-year starter on the varsity football team. Back in the old Ipswich Chronicle, Coach Welch was quoted that when talk starts, the great quarterbacks in Tiger history, Joe's name has to be included. He was one of the leading scorers in Division III in 1983, and his versatility was evidenced by his playing defense as well as handling the punting duties. He was named Division III Player of the Week by the Boston Globe his senior season, and received the HIPA Hellenic Award as the team's most valuable player. That's an award that's voted by the opposing coaches of the Cape Ann League. He was also named an All-Star and played in the 1984 Gaanakos football game. On the basketball court, Joe was a tenacious rebounder and defender, averaging 14 points a game his senior year. Coach Frank Marcos stated that whenever the team needed a big play, Joe was the person the team leaned on. The team won his last 4 regular season games that year to qualify for the state tournament and made it all the way to the semifinals. Joe was also named a Baseball Salem News All-Star and Cape Ann All-Star his junior year, in which he hit 348 and had a pitching record of 5-2 with a 1.65 earned run average. Joe, would you please come to the podium?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Hall of Fame Committee. It's an honor to be elected along with such great athletes and people who have accomplished so much for the town in sports. And you don't get there without a lot of help from people along the way. And I'm here, first and foremost, I would like to thank my parents for providing me with everything I ever needed, whether it was equipment, driving me to my games, whatever it was. You know, if it was hard for an athlete to get up and go and get motivated for all these games, it's just as hard for a parent to get up in the morning. And, you know, and they never missed a game that I had. My mother was always there. So I want to thank you, Mom, and, you know, my dad's passed, but they were my biggest fans. Thank you. I'd also like to thank my brothers, Steve and Mike, for one, always giving me an opponent if I wanted to go play one-on-one basketball or whatever it was, but also for raising the level of competition in the house. They pushed me and they helped me get to a higher level, so I want to thank them. I would also like to thank anyone that had a hand in youth sports, whether it be coaching, fundraising, or even organizing. Rick Storer back in the day organizing youth soccer that got so many of us out there learning to play. soccer and introduced it when I was a youth. So again, I feel that youth sports are an integral part of your development. And I want to thank all those times. Again, officials, Harry Adropoulos, Paul Jean for devoting their time selflessly to make sure, you know, we always had someone there to officiate the games and taking care of the kids. So thank you and thank them. My players my teammates I played with, Greg Smith who's here, Hugh O'Flynn, D. Clapp, so many of you. Just, I share this award with you. You know, there's so many more of my teammates I think could be in here. You know, Dave Mastrangelo, tremendous athlete, made it easy. You know, turn around, hand the ball off to Greg, follow Hugh, whether it was lead blocking. So I share this award with all you guys. Thank you so much. Coaches. I mean, I was lucky enough to play for some of the most legendary coaches in high school athletics. Jack Welch, my football coach. Couldn't think of a better guy to sit in the room, pick your brain before the games, you know. A couple of bounces, a couple of plays here or there, coach, and I think we could have had a championship, so thank you. Frank Marcus, my basketball coach, tremendous job getting us all together. Again, we got to the semifinals, bounce here, bounce there. Again, you know, one of life's lessons. You don't win them all. You compete. Sometimes it just doesn't come out. But we were always prepared, and I thank him. Walter Dembowski, Arthur Carey, picking the brain of Kiki Papajotis and biology. You know, we start talking biology, then I'd ask about sports, and there was the class was gone. So thank you, Kiki. And we were lucky enough that during basketball season, some of our practices would follow the girls, and I watched them play, and I'll tell you, you taught the boys a few things. They're quite an impressive team, so thank you. One of my first recollections of Ipswich High was when I was in 6th grade. I couldn't wait. I lived on Kimball Ave. It was a Tiger football game. We couldn't wait to get over. I had my ticket getting over early, and this elderly gentleman asked me, "Hey, how'd you like to help out with the team today? Help me with the water and get the tee off the field. We'll put you on the sidelines." It's like, wow, that sounds great. What a nice guy this guy is, right? And then I got down there and I see this gentleman with holding the down marker saying, "Hey kid, nice to have you on the sidelines. Just be careful, I'll be running up and down here. We don't want to run you over." I was like, oh, wow, that's a nice guy. What such sound advice. And the ref threw his first flag on the Tigers. And I looked over and I saw these two nice gentlemen transforming into raging lunatics. Spit flying, arms raised, and I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And then I think these guys are nuts. But what I soon realized, it wasn't crazy. It was their passion and their pride for Ipswich and Ipswich athletics and the athletes. And that's why I'm so honored to get inducted to the Ipswich High School Hall of Fame, a town that has such pride and love for their athletics and their athletes. And I am truly honored. And if you guys haven't figured out who those guys were, it was Elliot Roundy and Norman Chelsea Stone. Thank you all.
Next, we'll follow the induction of Amber Smith by Andy Zarowski.
Amber Smith. Quick story before it will be quick, but it does quite define Amber. Freshman year, Amber came on the scene really quick. She was bigger, stronger, had a jump shot like I've never seen before, shot at such a high percentage, really fun to watch right away, but played very, very physical basketball. And we made it to the North Final that year. We were at St. John's Prep, and I remember midway through the second quarter, I looked out on the court, and I was like, said to our other coaches, "What is Amber doing?" She was running down the court with her head pitched back, all the way back. And I couldn't figure it out. And she went up and down, and then finally the whistle blew and she went to the foul line and she looked over at me like, are you gonna sub me out or what? And her nose was pouring with blood. But she didn't say a word, she didn't look over, she didn't, she wasn't like, hey, take me out of the game. She just kept playing right through it, and that was an indication of what the next, 3 years after that game were gonna be like with her. She was a true joy to coach and even to watch. I found myself as a coach watching her as much as I was coaching her because it was, she just was an incredible talent on the court. She was an outstanding two-sport scholar athlete in basketball and soccer. She's the all-time leading scorer at Ipswich High School in basketball history, scoring 1,819 points. And she did that, thank you Dan Follinsby, as Hannah mentioned, who had just passed, who took the stats. She did that, she didn't shoot any three-pointers and she shot an incredibly high percentage. She wasn't one of those players that took, 50 shots a game and was going for hers all the time. She really was, it was offensive rebounds, it was a pull-up jumper, and there were games where I felt like I could go through her to score the basket, to score every single trip down, but she didn't have, she was very unselfish at the same time. And she definitely knew her strengths and weaknesses, which made her easier to coach, but that was just an incredible feat to score 1,819 points and hold that record. It's pretty amazing. And she did it scoring grabbing double-digit rebounds pretty much every game. She ended up with 1,099 rebounds. She averaged 22 points per game and 13 rebounds during her senior year. Just an incredibly hard worker, kind of a quiet leader, as much of a presence as she was on the court. She was definitely a quiet leader out there and led by example. She was voted team MVP back-to-back years, Cape Ann League Player of the Year 2008, 2009, Cape Ann League All-League 2006 through 2009. She helped lead Ipswich. She helped lead us to the Final Four Cape Ann League to 4 Cape Ann League titles. All 4 years we won the Cape Ann League title, and obviously she was a huge part of that. She was selected the Salem News All-Star 3 times, Salem News Super Team 2009, Boston Globe Super Team, Boston Herald All-Scholastic 3 times, Boston Herald Dream Team 2009, which, that's not easy to do, those Boston Herald and Globe and Dream Team awards. Most of you know in athletics it's not easy, especially being in Ipswich, a smaller town in Division III. So she really made a name for herself and, more importantly, to Amber at Ipswich High School. She was the first Ipswich High athlete to be a McDonald's All-American nominee. She was honorable mentioned as one of the best multi-sport athletes of the 21st century by the Salem News. She was selected as MVP of both the Spartan Classic and the Institution for Savings Holiday Tournament. Amber was also voted Female Class Athlete in 2009. She was a high honor student for all 4 years. Amber was also the goalie for the soccer team. She was named Cape Ann League All-Star and Cape Ann League All-League. She continued playing through her sophomore year until she sustained a concussion that ended her soccer career. Amber was awarded a full scholarship to UMaine. She participated in basketball for 4 years. She graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering. She now lives in Switzerland and works for Stryker as an engineer. So again, just a joy to watch play. I remember we had a lot of youth travel players coming out to watch us and support us at that time, and the gym was always packed. It just was a great atmosphere and environment, and Amber was a huge part of that, and a lot of the younger kids, as Hannah mentioned, looked up to her. So I feel honored to have coached her and been able to spend that time with her on and off the court. And her mom, Pat, please come up.
Thank you very much, Mandy, for that beautiful introduction. As Mandy just mentioned, Amber now lives in Switzerland with her wife, Mindy, and their new baby boy, Matteo, 5-month-old, our first grandson. And Amber has always been extremely competitive. She still is very competitive. There's almost no challenge she will not take on. However, the thought of international travel on the busiest travel weekend of the year with a 5-month-old was more than she was willing to take on. So she's very sorry that she can't be here tonight, but she did give me some words that she wanted me to say to you. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame is really an honor and a special recognition, and one that I'm sad I couldn't be present for today. I think the second best thing is to write something about my experience in Ipswich athletics, to try to portray the impact the system and community has had on my formative years. If I were to try to distill down the lessons I've learned from my 4 years playing in a Tigers uniform, I think I would sum it up like this. 1, life doesn't get easier. The women's basketball coach at Duke, Kara Lawson, talks about this in a speech she gives to her players during preseason. Things don't get easier, you just get better. 2, commitment goes a long way. Whether it's waking up on a Sunday morning to dig your parents' car out to get to practice, or sticking to a routine in your real adult life, the way you do little things is the way you do big things. 3, when I'm dealing with challenging situations in a team at work today, I think back to the times when I've been on a line in practice with my team, and it reminds me that when everyone is working in the trenches together towards a common goal, success feels that much greater when you finally reach it. 4, everyone has a role in the team they're on. Their role at work, their role in their family. If I don't like my role, it's up to me to find a way to like it or find a way to change it. 6, feedback is a gift. Be coachable. Whether this person is your actual coach or your boss or your spouse, take their opinion seriously. What they think matters. And lastly, nothing you do alone. The influence of the people around me has been the most crucial piece of my puzzle. I genuinely want to thank my parents, my siblings, Mandy and Zach, my teammates over the years, my AAU coaches, and so many more people. These people have believed in me, encouraged me, picked me up and dusted me off, and at times spoke the truth to me that maybe I wasn't prepared to hear. All of these people have helped to teach and instill life lessons that have set me on the path that has made me successful in the other areas of my life today. I want to thank the committee that has considered me for this award, and for my parents and Mandy and Zach Zegorowski for standing in for me today when I wasn't able to join. I'm forever grateful for my experience in Ipswich athletics, and I will always be proud to be a Tiger. I'd just like to add one more thing. My husband, Kurt, and I would also like to thank the committee for considering and accepting Amber into the Ipswich Athletic Hall of Fame. It really is a very special honor, and we appreciate that. We'd also like to thank the Ipswich athletic community as a whole. All of the coaches, the assistant coaches, the trainers, the stats keepers, the volunteers, the refs, all of you were a part of Amber's success, and we appreciate every one of you. And finally, Kurt and I feel we owe a special debt of gratitude to Mandy and Zach Zegorowski. You were more than coach and trainer to Amber. You were family. You loved her, you cared for her, you fed her, you guided her, You talked to her and you listened to her, and you helped her through so many things, big and small, basketball and not basketball. And we can never thank you enough for that. So thank you.
Our next inductee is going to be brought up by Mel Bowen again. Mel. Inductee's name is Ricky Hazen.
Thank you, Rolly. All right. Ricky, my best friend. We were friends. We were 12 years old. You know, this went on and on. Always went to the games together. We just did it all. Did it all together. I mean, he was. I had a certain way to do this, and I just screwed it up, and I'm going to get it. I'll get to it. I'll get it done right. Ricky, when he was in high school, he was the manager for the baseball team during his freshman and sophomore years. Ricky was also the manager for the basketball team his freshman year. He was a Tiger fan. You know, in high school, he presented in many games, cheering on his classmates and friends. He was always there. Him and Chelsea. I tell you, they were two of the best. Ricky, when I went up on the boat, Dave Drown was the public address man for a long time, and he had to go to San Francisco for Thanksgiving, so he asked me if I'd do the game. And I said I would, and Ricky said, you know, he wanted to come with me. He wanted to do the spotting. I said, okay. So we did that game, and, you know, it was something new. It worked out pretty well. Dave came back and said, I don't want to do it anymore. You want it? We said, fine. So, Ricky was great to work with. We had from day one, you know, before the booth, we were up in the bleachers, you know. In the elements, it was cold, it was rainy, snowy, you know, whatever. And it was, at first, we had Angie Perna with us. And, you know, Angie Perna was doing the TV work, and he'd come to the game, and when it was raining, Angie would put a top over him. And me and Ricky, we had nothing. We just got soaked. That was that. But after that, we started. We got together. We had a team. It was myself, Ricky, and Pete Rooney, who was the timekeeper. And the three of us worked together up there since 2007. And Ricky was the man with everything. We gave him the eyes of the Tigers, because he was the eyes of the Tigers. Always looking over the field. Whenever, every play, before the play, he knew what to do, you know? Every time, whenever someone would get the ball, before, you know, number 7. And we'd be right on him, and number 24 made a tackle, this and that. He was real good with that. He was so good. The Salem News reporters, we worked with a few. Dan Harrison, Nick Gianani, I think that's how you say his name. And the one we worked with the most was Jean DiPlacido, who recently passed away. She was a great one to work with. She would ask Ricky, who made that play? She had to write it in a report, and she would go over Ricky, and he would give her the information, okay? He was important. He just was really important. On Thanksgiving, whenever we had the home game on Thanksgiving, he would always bring the shrimp. We had Anyway, he had pepperoni, cheese, crackers, and he'd bring 5 pounds of shrimp. First year he brought it, he used to work at Savages. He'd get the shrimp over there, he'd get a 5-pound bag, he's fine. Well, the first year he brought it, he didn't cook it. That's bad. He pulled it out. He said, Ricky, what the hell is this? That's a shrimp. We're supposed to cook it. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, anyway, we got it over to Danny Crowder and he cooked it. So, and other times, like I say, his eyes were the best. And it was one night, it was before the booth, so it had to be probably 2012, I believe. We were playing Manchester, Essex. And it was raining so hard, Tom Gallagher said, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do the game from up there. Too dangerous. So we were all down in the garage here, watching the game. There was myself and Ricky and Coach Welch, Bubba Galanis, Dave Brown, Dr. Hugh O'Flynn, Tom Gallagher, and I can't think of her name, but she was the Manchester Essex athletic director at the time. And there was a play that was going away from us, going down there. And it was about a 40-yard pass play. Manchester did it. I think it was Bubba said, "Chief, who caught that pass?" Ricky said, "Number 81. How could you see that? It was all the way down the field in the rain. He said, "I eat my vegetables." It was perfect. Anyway, some of them stories. I mean, he was a spotter for years and years. Just identifying the players, engage the pulse of the game. And he's kind-hearted, he was generous, loyal to the Tigers. He absolutely loved being in the eyes of the Tigers and took pride in that role. He always would say to me, "Oh, this is what you need, Mel," when he died, it really left a hole in the Ipswich program and to me as well. So anyway, at this time I'd like to ask Ricky's siblings, Charles, Barbara, and Sandy, to please come to the podium.
Hi, I'm Ricky's sister Barbara, my brother Charles, our mother, and our sister Sandy. First of all, Mel, we want to thank you for just being part of our family. You are just, and this whole town, the football players, I love them. Everybody, we really appreciate this. Ricky is here. He's with us, and he's probably embarrassed knowing Ricky. Yes, but we miss him. Mel, you're part of us now. It's okay, all right? It's okay, you and Patty. But all of you, thank you so much for the support that you gave him over the years. He loved every bit of it.
I would like to thank the committee for electing Ricky on our nomination for the Hall of Fame. Ricky enjoyed sports. He wasn't a terrific athlete, but he always fought for all the sports and all the players.
especially in football. Okay. One thing about Ricky, he had the spirit. He had the spirit of the Tigers, of Ipswich, and of the people. If he knew you, he would always greet you with a smile. Ricky was just a great person. I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, next inductee will be inducted by Hall of Fame, a member of the Hall of Fame, Henry Coles. We will be inducting Bob Tobiasz.
This is double spaced in really big letters, so. I'd like to open my comments with sincere thanks to Rosalie and the Hall of Fame committee for the wonderful work that they do and contribution to maintaining Ipswich athletic history. I was honored by your selection 4 years ago, and Bob Tobiasz was kind enough to provide introductory comments on my behalf. And I am again honored that Bob has asked me to offer up a few words introducing him to you. I'm going to break with what I had planned on delivering here, because in June of 22, we lost one of our inductees, Mike Singer, who was just a terrific guy, great baseball player. And I had spent some time playing with Mike, with the Chiefs. One of Mike's favorite sayings was, "Can of corn," meaning that something was very easy to do. And even though life is not always a can of corn, I'm sure that Mike is looking down on us now, happy that he has been remembered. Bob excelled at all that he did. He lettered in cross country for 4 years and was the first runner ranked for 3 of those years. I ran with Bob. Well, I didn't actually run with him. For the most part, I chased him and actually rarely saw him running at all, because by the time I got to the starting line, Bob was already out of sight. And by the time he had finished, I was still making my way back from the Labor and Bain Bridge on the old cross-country track. See, that's page 1. It was pretty quick. His success was a testament to his drive, his intensity, and commitment to excellence, qualities that were not limited to athletics. Bob was the valedictorian of our class president, and he, after graduating from Ipswich High, finished his education at Boston College, graduating magna cum laude. But my best memories of Bob are from the basketball court, where he brought the same intensity in quest of excellence. He was chosen varsity starting point guard by Coach McKenna as a sophomore and maintained that position throughout his next 2 years. Co-captained the team with Ben Allowick, and Ben is here over at the table with Bob during his senior year. Bob possessed incredible court vision and was an outstanding ball handler and dribbler, often called on to run out the clock in our Cinderella string of close games. He was a terrific defender, and he was a key factor in running Coach McKenna's 1-3-1 offense. Bob was a great scorer, great ball handler, great dribbler, and I'm sure that we would not have ventured as far as we did in the '63 season without his leadership and his dedication. That year we did fall short in our quest of achieving the finals of the Tech Tourney, but it was a great run, and I think that Coach McKenna's saying at our banquet at the conclusion of the season kind of says it all about Bob. Coach McKenna said Bob was a coach's dream. So without any further ado, keep things along. Bobby, come on up.
Thank you, Hank, for your kind words. If I had known that you were going to be this complimentary, I would have passed the ball to you a few more times. Just kidding. The President, Chairman Rolly Hinckley, Dan Clasby, Dr. Cooke, and all other members of the Ipswich High School Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to you for having deemed my athletic efforts at Ipswich High School worthy of Hall of Fame induction. The unheralded work that this committee has done since at least 2009 demonstrates why the Ipswich experience is so special for so many of us. To all of tonight's other Hall of Fame inductees, I offer my congratulations and hope that you and your families and friends enjoy this evening. Finally, I want to thank my family and friends who are here tonight. I especially want to thank my bride of 53 years, my wife Ellen. Real MVP about tonight. My athletic journey began in the mid-1950s when as a 10-year-old I discovered and subsequently fell in love with Limerick Playground. I had extremely good fortune to reside at 25 Limerick Road, which was the house closest to the playground. Limerick Playground was a young athlete's dream come true because it included a baseball field, softball field, a football field, a hockey rink, a basketball court, and a tennis court. It was a constant beehive of activity at numerous sporting activities were proceeding often simultaneously in the early years. The Limerick Playground participants in those days consisted primarily of two groups. The locals, or those of us who live very close to the playground, such as myself, Bob Graffam, Ron and Steve Hopping, and Steve and Chuck Daly. Then the second group was the travelers, or those who had to ride their bikes or walk a fair distance to get to Limerick Playground. This group included people such as Ben Allowick, Pete Prescott, Dave Wallace, Jimmy Soteropoulos, and Billy Alexson. Over the next few years, the so-called locals added my brothers Dave and Steve and Barry Hopping, while the travelers added Danny Mazzola, Skip Cressy, Dennis Doty, and Dan Alexson, who in my opinion was the most talented and competitive point guard that I went head-to-head with over the years. There was at Limeberg Playground the people that I just mentioned, and so many others, too numerous to mention, developed and then refined our athletic skills and learned how to function as members of a team. It was also a place where leadership skills and future leaders were developed rather quickly. Although my parents were not actively supportive athletic parents, they were very helpful to me and my brothers in those early years. For example, my mother made sure that the travelers had lunches, plenty of water, and toilet facilities when required, probably more than my mother had ever expected. My father, as manager of the Ipswich Electric Light Department, made sure that the playground was always adequately lighted. Playing under the lights, although not as sophisticated as it is today, became an actual reality in those early years. In summary, Limeberg Playground was the prep school for so many of us who aspired to play sports at Ipswich High School. In September 1959, I entered Ipswich High School as a freshman, and fortunately for me, I came under the guidance that September of Bob McKenna, who was my cross-country coach and who would later become my basketball coach when I became the starting point guard as a sophomore. Coach McKenna, who was only 10 years older than me, became my athletic mentor and big brother during my high school years. It was Coach McKenna who helped me to improve my basketball skills, who taught me the importance of getting and staying in basketball shape using cross country as the vehicle to do so, who taught me how to become a coach on the floor, and most importantly, taught me how to overcome adversity and continue to persevere in spite of setbacks. I can honestly say that I would not be standing here tonight if I had not crossed paths with Coach McKenna. I think that some of you will recall that I was a member of the so-called 1963 Cinderella basketball team that won 8 straight games to qualify for the Class D Tech tournament, and then won 2 tournament games before losing the elimination game by 1 point at the buzzer. In addition to myself and Hank Coles, who was a tremendous all-around player and led the Cape Ann League in scoring in 1963, that team included co-captain Ben Alwick, who was selected to the Cape Ann League All-Star team as a sophomore and was arguably, and in my opinion, the best all-around athlete on the team. Ted Frederick, one of 3 talented Frederick brothers that I had the good fortune to play with in high school. Ace rebounder and defender, the late Bobby Dudek. Top reserve, sophomore Bill Alexson, who delivered many big games for us. Sharpshooter Wes Winters, who never hesitated to launch a shot at any place on the court. Scrappy guard Dave Sklas, who made me a better player by working so hard in scrimmages. Phil Bateman, hard-working forward. And last but not least, Jim Grimes, an emotional firebrand who made every practice and scrimmage an intense event. The accomplishments of the 1963 Cinderella team brought tremendous pride to the people of Ipswich and to the student body at Ipswich High School. More importantly, in my opinion, the 1963 team served as a shining example to young, aspiring Ipswich athletes as to what could be accomplished if they worked together in an unselfish manner. I firmly believe that our 1963 team had a profound impact on how IHS basketball teams played the game in the years subsequent to 1963. In closing, I want to thank the committee for bestowing this special honor on me this evening. While I was a hard worker, any success that I achieved was the result of excellent coaching, talented and unselfish teammates, a family that was supportive but not overbearing, and a community student body that was very special. Simply put, it was and still is about the team. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee, another member of the wrestling history of Ipswich. And to induct him, we're going to call up Jeremiah LaRochelle.
Good evening. Congratulations to all the inductees tonight. It's truly an honor to be up here to give this award to my father. Dad, I also think it's pretty cool that we get to put you up next to Uncle Jimmy down that hallway. That means a lot, I'm sure, even to Ryan. So it's going to be great to have you enshrined up there next to him. I know most of you inductees tonight can attest to how sports prepare you for life. The wins, the losses, the discipline, the hard work, the structure, the teamwork, the communication, the commitment, the goal setting, the motivation, and the adversity you face. My father was part of the very first varsity soccer team at Ipswich. That's pretty much all about soccer that I know from him, from high school. We'll get to the rest of it later. But I do know what he did for soccer after he left Ipswich High School. He started a youth soccer club in Spencerville, Ohio years ago. I remember him making PVC pipe goals with nets. We even snuck on the football field and adjusted the goalpost so we could play soccer on it. Even after I started playing football, he continued to be involved in that community. Later on, that youth soccer league would become the SYAA, the Spencerville Youth Athletic Association. He helped build many ball fields, soccer fields, concession stands, on all unused land that was in the town. So he took the head on getting all that done for us kids when we were young. So I think that's his true Hall of Fame career right there for soccer. On to wrestling. That, I do know a lot of those stories. I know everything about. I've heard them all. He was a fierce competitor, I know that. A great leader and a loyal teammate. But once again, I believe his Hall of Fame career came after high school. When I started wrestling, he was right there as a coach every single day. He was the first one to put his arm around me when I had a tough loss. He was also the first one to humble me when I had a good win and tell me to get ready for my next one. He always had the right thing to say in any situation. After my wrestling career, he continued being involved in the sport that he was so passionate about. Going on to coach for the Ipswich Georgetown team. Many of the people are here right now. As a coach, he demonstrated the same qualities that he learned wrestling at Ipswich, and he was able to pass that on to the next generation. I really truly believe that, you know, it's not even what you do for your Hall of Fame career in high school, but what do those sports do for you after? And what my father showed, what Ipswich sports did for him, he went on to do many, many great things, and I can't be more proud of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Bugg Arcisz.
Kathy, can you hear me back there? First, let me start. People always ask me, where did you get the name Bugg? Back in the old days, some of you probably remember, I had 3 older brothers, and both my parents worked. There was no such thing as babysitters and stuff back then. So my older brothers had to take care of me. Unfortunately, I guess I bugged them just a little bit. But some of you might remember a stupid TV show came on. This is early 50s. Leave It to Beaver. Well, Jerry Mathers became the Beaver. I became the Bugg. I kept that. When I got to middle school, junior high school, most people only knew me as Bugg. They didn't even know my real name. So, 60 some odd years now I've had that name, and some people still, don't even know my real first name. Wrestling came easy. I had 3 older brothers that went into it before I did. My oldest brother, Stanley, he was a graduate in '65. He was co-captain of the wrestling team. They were undefeated that year, huh, Bill? I should say Steve, Mr. Daly. My brother Stanley ended up second in the state tournament. My next brother, Mark. First, let me say, my brother Stanley, after high school, he went in the service, and he did 2 tours in Vietnam, getting 2 Bronze Stars, Silver Star, and a Purple Heart. My next brother, Burke, he was captain of the '67 team. He had some injury problems, but he still managed a 3rd place in the state tournament. He also went into service after high school. After 19 and a half years, as an Army Green Beret, he was killed in a helicopter crash. That sucked. My 3rd brother, James, he was captain of the '71 team. He was the state champ. By far, he was the best wrestler to ever come out of Ipswich. He's already in this Hall of Fame. So, wrestling came, easy to me. I can remember being the manager of Mr. Daly's '65 team. And I was a freshman when Billy Wallace was captain of the '69 team. That '69 team, we lost the match to Chelmsford because, we had the best wrestler was hurt. That was my brother. He was out for a couple of matches. Well, we lost to Chelmsford, but we beat Lowell. And Lowell turned around and won the state tournament. So, without a doubt, that '69 team should be in here. We now have 5 members of that team, plus the coach, already in this Hall of Fame. So without a doubt, I think that team should be in. There's one thing I disagree with those guys. They were saying that wrestling is an individual sport. Well, in a way it is, because you got one guy going out there against one guy. But they don't see the hours and hours of practice and drilling and stuff. You can't do that by yourself. You need other people. So it is a team sport. I want to read a little quote from some guy you guys might know. His name is Tom Brady. There is nothing of significance can be accomplished as an individual, only as a team. And that's true with wrestling. You need somebody to work out with, to practice with, and then when you get to the match, to cheer you on. So that's what makes wrestling so great. I'd like to go on to when I gave up, I started coaching. What happened was, I was sitting in the Plav. I think some of you guys are familiar with that place. And see, the wrestling team, the Ipswich gave up wrestling in the 90s, early 90s. And then in the 2000s, they brought it back as a co-op with Georgetown. And I was sitting in there, and a friend of mine, a classmate, a guy that, you know, a great athlete, Hall of Famer, Bugg, came up to me and he says, "Hey, Bugg, my kid's going out for wrestling. Can you go give him a few pointers?" I said, "Wow, yeah, no problem." So I started going to practice and giving a few pointers. So for the next 15 years, I was giving a few pointers. But that was great. There is one other thing about that. What they do now, the schools do now, when a kid gets 100 varsity wins, they put their name on a banner and they hang it up in the gymnasium. What's funny is Ipswich has 3 kids. Jojo Crayson, my nephew Michael Gallagher, and Charlie Galanis. They all have their name, and it's hanging in Georgetown Gymnasium. I asked for it. No, I'm the one that has to go faster. But I do want to mention the Merrimack Valley Wrestling Tournament. For 54 years, they've had this tournament. That's over 750-something champions. Ipswich has a grand total of 8. Louis Vallajos, good friend of mine. He was one. Charlie Galanis was the last one. He was number 8. You know, with only 8 out of the 750 something, those odds are outrageous. What else do I have to say? I guess I have to thank the committee for nominating me or getting me in. I have to thank the person that nominated me, probably one of the best all-around athletes Ipswich ever had, Hall of Famer Dennis Doty. Besides that, thanks for your time. Enjoy yourselves and be safe.
Okay, our next induction is going to be of the 2002 Ipswich High School Girls 4x400 track relay team.
Our next inductees were often referred to as the Royal Tigers. And the reason they're referred to as the Royal Tigers is that they were part of the Ipswich and Georgetown co-op team. Only this time, Ipswich was the whole town. So these young women will be inducted in the Ipswich Hall of Fame. We are here tonight to induct the indoor/outdoor 4x400 relay team. To introduce them tonight is their coach, Gail Vaughn.
Tonight, I am honored to present 4 young women who put the towns of Ipswich and Georgetown on the Massachusetts New England National Track. In the spring of 2000, the MIAA granted a co-op agreement between the towns of Ipswich and Georgetown to allow athletes from schools with smaller enrollments to participate in sports that they were not able to field a team for. That was the birth of the Royal Tigers, as we affectionately called it, and the start of the Cinderella season. The quartet of Lindsay Sheffield, Coralyn Smith-Bissett, Chelsea McCarran, and Eric Shea, however, did not make their 4x400 debut until the 2002 indoor season. They captured the McIntyre Relays, Class C state relays, KPN League and Class C state titles. When at the Class C state championships, going into the final event, we were trailing by 1 point for the team championship, and the girls went out and clinched the victory in the 4x400 to win their second Class C state title that year. In the New Englands, they set a new school record in the All-State crown and went on to break that mark as New England champions with a winning time of 3:59.01, and then went on to place 9th at the Indoor National Scholastic Meet. During the spring season, they captured their winning ways by capturing the Class C state relay, state coaches, KPN League, and Class C championships. They dropped to a second place finish in the All-States against their arch nemesis, Dennis Yarmouth, but came back with a vengeance to defeat them for the New England crown in a new school record time of 3:56.43. At the Adidas National Meet, they came from an unseeded heat to place 6, earning them All-American honors, and setting a new school record and area best time of 3:55.52. For their accomplishments, they earned Boston Globe and Boston World All-Scholastic honors. As a former athlete myself, these girls were unbelievable competitors. They were very multi-talented in not just running, but hurdling, throwing, jumping, things that I was never very good at. But the true testament was their tenacity and commitment to the team, and that helped them to achieve their success. It's one thing to have talent, but if you don't use it, then or you're not committed to the program, then it's not, it doesn't really serve you. So I'd like to introduce the girls.
Don't worry, guys. We pride ourselves on being fast. So we just want to start with a thank you so much to the committee for the nomination, and I know Coach Spellman, who we all know and love. So That was one of the things that he had mentioned, so we're just really grateful for all the hard work, and thank you really for everything. And Kiki, I know we connected, so it's just so much work to put this on, so thank you again to caterers and for the committee and everybody, and of course to our family, Gail, for all the years of support. I see Mr. Haddad here, I know Coach Welsh. So just as Gail said, it takes a village really, and we're looking around to our parents here. And I just want to take a moment to say, my mom was Sean Ryan. She was class of '69, and I know she knows quite a few people here. She passed away this past summer. She was one of our biggest fans and biggest supporters, and it just feels really good. It feels like coming home here because I grew up with the Ipswich stories, and as y'all are talking, that's what I was raised on. So it feels very special. I know we're representing Georgetown, but also feel really a lot of pride for the town of Ipswich too. So thank you all.
We were 2 seniors, 2 sophomores, and we got the pleasure of running that relay together for 2 years. And during that time, we seemingly won everything. K-Band, Class D, All-State, New England's. We went to nationals 3 times, dropped the baton at that indoor one where we came in 9th, and got finally All-American honors at the last race of my and Lindsay's high school career. We were 4 girls from Georgetown that wore the Ipswich uniform with pride when neither town could really fill a whole program. And Gail said that there must be something in the water, but it wasn't. It was really in her coaching, and she was a numbers girl. And it wasn't about speed. It was about where can we fill in the roster, where can we earn points. You can't really triple jump, but if nobody else on the other team can triple jump, you can triple jump today. And that was really that team component that was so, so important to us all. And it was in her coaching. We were sprinters that really had to be coached to run the 400. We got moved up from the 100 to the 200 to the 300 to the 400 very unwillingly. Anyone who has run the 400 says it will be the last time they will ever run the 400. You puke, you collapse, you look at your split and you say, oh, that's my new race. And it was the best. It was really in the friendships that were built that this magic happened. We drove together in a beat up VW Fox from Georgetown to Ipswich every day. And then, Ipswich did not have a track when I was here. We ran in graveyards, and we ran at Hamilton Way, and we ran in the cafeteria. That was our indoor track. And we were blasting Shakira, and Corey Lynn was making mounds of whatever Chex Mix discards she didn't like. And that was our entire world. And we were competitive, but never with each other. We were always chasing our next split, next record, next meet. And we watched The Competitors on which, if any of you guys have not seen that movie, it is wonderful. And we really can't say enough about Gail and Spell and our parents who were just endlessly cheering us on. And ultimately, that was it. It was a culmination of efforts, 400 meters at a time, splits that differed by seconds and milliseconds, and that added up to exactly the sum of those parts. And it's an experience that 20 years later still feels cumulative. It shaped us so profoundly that talking about it isn't like talking about our glory days, even though it was absolutely glorious. But the present is also glorious, and our future is also glorious, and it's because it was built on these experiences. And I love you guys all.
Okay, back there, get ready. I'm going to introduce the soccer, the lacrosse team, 2003 championship lacrosse team. Just got fired. Hey, in any season, any season, as coaches know, you're gonna have luck, good luck, you're gonna have bad luck, okay? In this season, that team experienced both, okay? They started off, I believe, 4 or 5-1, then lost some players to injury. The record fell to 5-5, I believe. And they were good enough. They knew they were good enough to make the tournament if they win the last 2 or 3 games, which they did. But that gave them a low seed. So now they're in the tournament. They have to go away for every game is an away game. To tell you furthermore about that and the great Jason and the Argonauts type trip across the ocean to Martha's Vineyard is Coach Glenn Foster.
Isn't original. 2003. It's
Not the
still
mic.
fit.
Grab the mic, Glenn.
Don't you can't have it.
Weird. You wearing an old T-shirt?
I am going to take a minute to read names of the kids that are on the team. I know they're not all here, but there's some ones here. So, George Abel, Tyler Smith, Nick Lamson, Sean McCarthy, Jesse Hartley, Colin Callahan, Alex Rossi, Peter Kursker, Jamie DeLand, Adam Pike, Evan Dooley, Seth Weil, Andy Mackey, DeWitt Hutchins, Rich Logan, Evan Heyman, Matt Lamaya, John Yema, Ross Grimes, Sterling Folkstead, Carl Simon, Michael Dyer, and Luke Wilson. And that is the 2 Before they come up here, I do want to put a little bit of this in perspective. So most of you probably know that Arthur Carey started lacrosse in Ipswich in 1967. At the time, we used to have to play college freshman teams and private schools because there just weren't enough public schools around to play the game. By the time I took over in 1984, there were 65 teams in Eastern Mass. So they used to have a giant tournament. So one of my favorite stories is we got seeded in 1993 against Newton North, which was 2,000 students to our 395. We drove into the school and somebody on the bus goes, "Coach, why are we at the mall?" No, this is North High School. How this is going to work. So fortunately, in the year 2000, there were enough schools, approximately 108 in the state, so they now could do a Division I and II. And Ipswich went into Division II, and we were the 6th smallest school in Eastern Mass lacrosse, yet playing a Division II schedule. So the first year, and most of these guys are going to come up, were freshmen on that team, but we ended up knocking off the #1 seed Hingham. We then came back, we were in the semifinals. The following year, we were in the semifinals again, and we lost to, Cohasset, still makes me feel bums. And then their junior year, we were in the finals of Division II. And again, with the 6th smallest school in the league, still playing in basically a Northeast Conference, Beverly, Peabody type of schedule. And then the following year, 2003, they finally created a Division III. Now, the lacrosse gods can sometimes be very nice, and they looked at my team and said, "You need a goalie." And sure enough, Sean McCarthy decided it was a good time to come back to Ipswich, jumped in the net for us, and was the backbone of an unbelievable defensive group we had. And then as coach said, we had a couple of injuries during the course of the year, set us back a little bit. And then we all started to meld and started to gel together. And on the back of my shirt, I have the teams we beat. But I had to put North Andover because I don't like them. That was the impetus for the whole thing, because we just destroyed them. So off we go to the tournament. Now we have to go. We've got one home game, and that's always an interesting story with kids. So we're playing Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, playing Bourne. Friday night's the prom. So I sit the kids down and I say, "All right, you got to think about this. Prom is an important experience for you, but we have a game tomorrow." And they all went. The they usually do. So off they go. Next morning we start to play Bourne. A little rusty, things aren't going so great, but we ended up winning the game. So afterwards I sat them all down. I said, do I dare ask you what time you went to bed last night? And I get a sheepish, we haven't.
What was the score of that game?
I always said we won.
It was like 16 to 1.
No, it was 9 to 2. Now we become road warriors. Off we go to Weston. Off we go to Cohasset, who was the #1 seed at the time. We knocked them off. Now we have to go to Martha's Vineyard. And for some reason, the MIAA, in their wisdom, back then did not have a neutral site. So we got up 7:30 in the morning, got on the bus, 2.5-hour bus ride to Hyannis, hour and a half layover at the ferry terminal, hour ferry ride across the way, get picked up by a bus, 3 hours later is the game. That's a little bit of a home field advantage. So we start off playing the game that we always love to play. We run, we're all over the field, and then the fourth period, it's a 1-goal game, and then you can see the ferry lake start to appear. So we're getting a little tired, it's been a long day, but as always, Ipswich kids are resilient as hell, and we held on. Sean McCarthy made a great save with 19 seconds left, and we are Division III state champs. Now, as they come up here, the other part of this is still on the North Shore of Massachusetts. There are only 3 schools that won state title: Ipswich, Beverly. What's that other place? Prep. I had to bring that up. So here they are, 2003 state champions.
So, you won't swear. So Glenn, this was my second sport. I really didn't care for it. I did this all my off season. And I couldn't catch or throw left-handed for my life. Within six games in my freshman season, I could catch and throw instantly. It was all because of you. We're here because of you. And it's a great honor. And the hardest thing to do, one of your biggest things you told us, and it was so hard to do, was no sex before, a night before a game. Because it's high as the legs. 100%. And we're, what, 17, 18? So it's really hard to do that. Weekends to the leg. It's coming out. Weekends to the leg. Glenn, without you, we wouldn't be here. So, love you. Thank you.
I'll make this short and sweet. So I came to Ipswich at a young age, and I watched my cousins play football, and they won, Super Bowls, and it was very exciting. And I saw Glenn Foster, Spellman, Coach Jack Welch on the sideline, like, just screaming. And I'm like, I want to play for those guys. I became a 6th grader, and I walk into gym class, and you go, all right, everyone ready? Run the bleachers. I was fat. I didn't like it. But he pushed me to the next level. We all came to high school, we came together, and I played lacrosse with this guy. It was the best time of my life, and I will never regret it. All right? We won a state championship because of you. You taught me morals today that I still go by, and I thank you for that. Thank
you. Glenn, we would not be here without you, you know? We had a really rough time that 2003 season with the soccer team having a rough loss, the football team having a rough loss. Gotta say it, guys. And you had to give us screwballs back in shape, and because we were all like leaflet, you know? But you did. You found out how to make football players and soccer players get along, which is, it's really hard. It's not easy.
So.
And you did it beyond belief, like the greatest I've ever seen. You are my role model and my favorite coach I've ever had, and you always will be. And you gave me a chance when some other people didn't in sports, and I thank you forever for that. And this should be about you today, not us. It should be about you today.
Finish it up, big guy.
Well, I'm just gonna argue with them, it's not about me.
It's about you. You promised to throw left-handed. You counted the steps of all the plays.
This is a perfect example. This is a perfect example of the team. Richie, all he did was face off, and he was the best. He would come lumbering on the field. One of my memories of him was, remember when they drilled Andy Mackey in the back at Martha's Vineyard, and all of a sudden behind me I see the enforcer coming. The ref goes, ah, and you go back inside. We had face-off. Luke was our long stick mini. A little bit of a knee problem in the basket back as he shattered his ankle during gym class.
Thanks, Tyler.
Tyler was the speed. Evan was that blue-collar kid that was playing for the ass, being busted his ass. George was a defenseman. Back was could actually hit people. He's been thrown out now. So this is just about having a great group of kids. And they worked hard, they were friends. They did things that I don't want to know sometimes. They tell me stories now when they're older and say, no, my mother didn't tell me that one. It's a great group of guys, and they highly deserve. That was an incredible 4-year run. Which why I didn't have to win. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, he's whispering in my ear. You gotta hurry up.